Green line with the sun fairly much in driver's eyes as they start one of the later races of the day. You know, Jim Shepherd, a lot of young people come to me and say, how can I start in motor racing? And Gavin, of course, is my own son, so I know something how he started. And what you need is firstly enthusiasm. A lot of people have that. And then you need determination, and not as many maybe have that as some of the others. Then you need to have a great deal of dedication to sacrifice other things. 30 seconds to go.
Fortunately, with Formula V's not that much money compared to some of the other classes.
Indeed not. Gavin has been terribly lucky. He's had great help from the Group Automotive Services people. Cliff Jones, who is a superb builder of VW engines, has just rebuilt the motor for him, and Larry Jackett has helped, and Bryn Morgan's down there. A great bunch. In fact, the whole spirit throughout the V's is one of tremendous enthusiasm. Peter Houston, 10 seconds to go on pole position in 24. Gavin Green, Christie, Turnbull, Angus, Whittenden, Hall, Radke, Vardy and Engel are the leading 10. Houston makes a better start. He's away. Gavin Green on the outside, and coming up between them is Bill Christie and Turnbull, the Victorian. But it's Christie probably in second place. Yes, in the white lead. Gavin Green on the outside, and it's Peter Houston who will be the leading car as they come up towards this water slick across the track where they've been washing debris from it. Could be interesting there. It's Houston, Christie, Gavin Green on the outside, still in the second spot. The cars go sweeping around for the first time around Dunlop. A 10-lap race. This is the fantastic 2W Formula V Series. Graham Engel, who started way back in 10th place, is leader. Gavin Green is the leader of the series. Gavin Green leading the race at this stage, having got ahead of Peter Houston.
He's really mobile downhill with that Indros V. It's a flyer.
He's rather good on the quick stuff. It's very hard for me to watch the race, let alone comment, Jim, as you'll understand. But he is fast around the upper section. The one thing, of course, that he lacks, being only 19 and having not driven more than 6 months, is racecraft, but he's learning it pretty quickly, and the others will put him on. Houston has a go to get by on the inside there. I don't think it's going to be successful. A lot of pressure being applied by some pretty old hands in the business. A tremendous spirit exists among these Formula V drivers, but they love nothing more than cut and thrust, and the cut and thrust was so cutting this morning that Houston actually put his nose to the back of the car in the last lap and lost it. Very much following the formula of this morning's race, with the three of them rest up the top. Just depends who holds on, who breaks next.
Well, the white car charging up the outside was Bill Christie. He's in fact dropped back a point because Gavin managed to duck to the inside. In fact, there's the best line to go. On the inside of Houston, Christie following Green through. Christie forced him back off a little bit, back to third place. And quite strangely, hardly a touch so far in the first lap and a half or so of this fantastic 2W Formula V race. But
don't say things like that.
Oh, no, they're all good drivers, and if they have a touch, it's always a minor one. But through Honda corner for the second time, with Green in 77 leading Houston in 24, and then Bill Christie in the white Formula V in third place. A bit of a gap to one more car, and then a big pack of cars behind
Victoria, yes, who's one of the real hotshots down there. Very good driver. Green opening a little bit of a gap there. He'll be pleased if he can get away, and so will Jim Evans. Jim Evans, you know, this is his car. It's the Gas V, American Lynx initially. Jim brought it out here and ran a few times and scored his first victory at this meeting last year. So the win that Gavin achieved this morning was a happy anniversary for the car and for Jim Evans and the Group Automotive Services people. 4.5 seconds between the first and the 13th car. That's how close it is.
Yes, the field packing up behind Gavin Green and the Indros V77. Houston with the green sign up in the yellow car. Christie in the white car, who likes to drive all over the track. He's a very forceful driver, Bill Christie. And with one end of the bank up the top, car 21 giving the bank a little bit of a nudge.
Alan Birmingham.
He's all right, he's off again. That's up on Dunlop Curve. Through Honda. And look at Christie in the white car pulling out extremely wide. Thought he might get a bit of a catapult effect, I think, out of that corner. It didn't work. He's still back in third position as Houston looks for an inside run on Gavin Green, top right of screen. Had to back off at the last minute. Christie in car 26 is also nibbling away, looking for a way through. I was about to say before that if you have never watched Formula V racing before, don't get too carried away with the fact that someone is in front. With all due respect to Gavin Green, the leader in Formula V isn't necessarily guaranteed to be the winner at the finish of the race. Incredible number of positional changes occur in this style of racing. In fact, Gavin got a bit forced offline there. You find Houston coming out in the lead from Bill Christie. As I told you, Gavin went up the hill first, came out third. Houston from Christie and then Gavin Green.
Typical Formula V racing. Houston and Christie, both very competitive drivers. Bill Christie, I know, is a driver that Gavin has tremendous respect for. Not a great deal of luck though, Bill. He hasn't had a great deal of success here, but he's a very talented driver. A lot of smoke pouring from the fourth car there as the cars come down, which makes things very difficult for the drivers behind us. They're likely to get an oil mist over their visors as they come through, though. It's Houston, then Christie, then Green. Then
Doug Angus,
five. Doug Angus, who's fought his way out very well from further back in the field.
Packed up with Houston leading from Christie, and then Gavin Green back in third position in the red Formula V through Hodgson Corner. And from this point on, they have an added difficulty. Apart from all the cut and thrust of racing, they're racing up the hill into the setting sun. It gets very glary. Christie switches to the outside for another charge at Houston. Green goes with him, thinks better of it, switches back to the inside. Christie, with a bit of luck, could even get his nose in front. Here he has. Halfway through the race now, Christie the leader through Dunlop Curve, and he'll be a hard man to shake from there. We saw him lead a race earlier today, and he was knocked off from behind by Gavin Green, amongst others. But Christie leading down the hill from Houston, and then Gavin Green, and then Doug Angus, I would think, didn't lose any positions up there, probably back in fourth position.
I think then Turnbull, the Victorian, in next spot. Looking for Graham Engel, who is a series leader, but was way back on practice yesterday. Mind you, things are so close in practice that it's only a matter of tenths of a second between first and 10th very often. That was the situation. A passing move there attempted by Houston, then thought better of it and had to back off. As the Jim Bean car still goes through, goes very wide then and lost a bit of ground at Christie. So still Christie, Houston and Green.
It's an easily identified car. The Christie car looks so unusual compared to most Formula Vs. Look at this charge up the hill. Houston switching to the outside. Green going for a run up the middle.
That's a good line too, if he can hold that there.
There's also in the fray now.
Only 3 1/4 seconds between the first 10 cars. It's Houston back in front again. Christie taking the line there. Green goes a little wide. Will come back a little bit lower down there. Then will be Doug Angus.
Christie likes to stir these rival drivers. You notice if he gets pushed back a place, he'll start to move that car all over the track to make sure the driver in front knows that he's there. It's a little bit of an unnerving technique, which is quite legit. Often works. Houston now leading Christie, and here's Angus coming up for a run on the inside of Gavin Green. Possibly he's got him. No, he had to back off himself at the last minute. So tremendous scraps going on for first and second and third and fourth placings. Christie still nudging away at the rear of the Houston car. Swings very wide that time. That was a bit sort of out of no man's land there. In fact, you notice he looked down, had a look at the arm go and thought, gee, can I get that place?
So it's Houston and Christie, then Green, and then it's Doug Angus in 5, Victorian David Turnbull in 12, and Wayne Hall in 36, who's up in next place. Oh, a bit of a spin there and a very slight, a bit of a deviation from the line by Houston, but held it. Christie close, Gavin Green going wide there. He's got Angus up, a wily competitor, Doug Angus, probing and hoping a weakness will emerge in the driving of the younger fellow.
It's an incredible form of racing. One tiny, it only has to be tiny slip and you can lose 4 placings. Look at this. Everyone trying to out-bluff each other through Honda Corner. All went in and came out of the same formation, but Houston and Christie have skipped away a little bit now from Gavin Green and then Doug Angus. And Christie finally gets that inside line on Houston into Rothman's Corner to lead him out of this with about...
Oh, he's gone too far.
Gets hit.
Gavin missed him and got through. I don't know how he did that.
Right. Another one's gone further back.
Yes. Well, a nice bit of number 14 who went back is Peter Radke, who won't be very happy. You can see the front wheels there now.
Slight modifications to the front end of the Christie car. Houston now, the leader up the hill.
Doug Angus alongside.
And then Gavin Green in the order.
Gavin will try for a different lining, but he's not going to be allowed it by Doug Angus, who'll come in and hold the line. But Peter Houston now out wide. And all them following very similar line. There must be a bit of a clearance through some of the debris and mud that's still left there from the clearance on the track. So it's Peter Houston in the Swagman car now with a bit of a clear run there. He's in the car number 24, which is a Elfman.
Houston's put a bit of a gap in this field, and I'd say from here, barring a slip of his own, he's got little to worry about. He's leading Green in car 77 and then in third position, and losing it as I speak. Car 26 into the bank. I hope he stays off the track, and he does.
Wayne Hall in 36, who...
It's a nice, neat piece of driving, in fact, to avoid coming back into the middle of the bitumen.
Right, Wayne Hall, who won here 2 meetings ago, giving himself a bit of a fright, but holding it all together rather well. Well, we have now 2 laps to go.
Houston leading up the hill from Evan Green.
These two on the front row of the grid in practice. And now with a fairly lengthy gap back due to them having to do a bit of dodging to miss, first of all, Bill Christie and then Wayne Hall, who really had come through the field but came out of Honda just a little bit too fast, around the top of Dunlop. Gavin, who's a student, by the way, has spent almost all his money on this car. He doesn't spend anything else, doesn't buy clothes or other things he doesn't regard as essential to his purpose of succeeding as a racing driver. Has just had the engine rebuilt, which is why it's now going so well. Cliff Jones out of Freeport made him put it together. Obviously did a very good job by the way it's going. He's now closed up a little bit on Peter Houston. They shared the front row, both recording at 1 minute 2.4 seconds and closing it right up on the brakes. Made a lot of ground there. Now I don't know whether Houston's gone off or whether Gavin's just decided to take another 100 or 200 revs out of the motor. But they're now coming towards the last lap.
And this will be an interesting last lap with Houston leading up the hill. Gavin Green switches to the outside in car 77, then tucks again in behind. Now pulls out for a final run to the top of the hill. There's not much room there, so he swings back in again. Crucial to get the right line on this curve. There's only one fast way around it. We'll puff a brake smoke too, I think, from the green car.
Yeah, he likes to go through a bit faster than he's being allowed. That's the part of the circuit which he seems to relish. Very quick around there and wasn't able to go through quite as fast as he would have liked, where he might have picked up some ground. Now he's going to have to do it on Honda, which he doesn't like. They come through Mazda first of all, where they go flat out, absolutely flat jet in fourth gear. This is the corner that he still reckons he hasn't learnt, but he's going to try and do something. That's not the way to do it, Gavin. He'll come through on the inside though.
Now it's a matter of whether he can outbrake Peter Houston on the next corner, which is Rothmans, and he may have lifted his run a fraction too late. We'll see. He dives in deep underneath the gap.
I hope he's got too much sense to try impossible things. Peter Houston's going to win this race, but I think Gavin Green will come a fairly admirable second. Showing a lot of caution and sense, which is the factor I look for most, particularly when I know the driver. Peter Houston, though, a great win for him. Gavin Green second, and a long gap back to third will have difficulty, in fact, in picking just who it is because of the...
Missed the third placing, but the most important thing is that the race went to Peter Houston, Gavin Green second, and the usual great scrap to the finish. Unfortunately, one of the crowd favourites, Bill Christie.